Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and you know why those hype levels are beyond high. The backdrop, the lighting, it's all been improved, and that's thanks to your support, your love here on the channel, over on Patreon. So thank you so much for believing in my content. I hope you like the changes, and do please keep that feedback rolling in. Now, speaking of important feedback, today we talk about the Medium from Bloober Team. You know, the studio that kind of sounds like an underwater sound you make, like Bloober Team. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, Bloober Team is a studio of 100+ developers who have worked on the likes of Observer, Layers of Fear, as well as that Blair Witch game that not a lot of people really liked. But their next game here is the Medium, and the Medium is an Xbox Series S and X console exclusive. Woo! All right, let's be real. This is pretty rare, so I think it's a significant moment. Microsoft kind of needs to nail this because they're known for not having exclusives. So, does the Medium right the wrongs of Xbox's exclusive problems? Well, as you can tell by the title, it's an aptly named game. Yeah, it's pretty medium. Two things before we get started. Number one, if you're into the Xbox ecosystem, you're into the PC ecosystem, which you may be if you're watching this review. Myself, Carrick of ACG, we run an Xbox PC podcast called Defining Duke, and it is doing super well. Our reviews are off the charts right now. People are really digging this show, and I just want to go ahead and put it out there once more because I felt like this was a good opportunity to do so if you're interested in anything Xbox or PC. So go ahead, check that out, please. I think you'll really enjoy it. Number two, with all Xbox games, I'd just like to make sure everyone knows I have two verdicts. I have a Game Pass verdict because we have to account for that value. I'm sorry, like, are you going to sign up for this program for this game? Should you download it if you're signed up already? And as well as the $50 price tag for this game, should you buy it outright? So just know at the end of this video, we're going to have two verdicts. And now, with all that out of the way, let's get started as always with the story. So, you play as Marianne, who is, you guessed it, a medium, and she helps souls cross over into the afterlife. Now, at first, the game presents this very interesting theme of having the opportunity to say things that were left unsaid. Not to cut too deep here in the early going of this review, but what's kind of neat about this game is you see an opportunity where I think a lot of us wish we had, right? Being able to maybe talk to someone on the other side, saying those last words that you never had a chance to say to maybe a family member or a friend or anyone out there, right? And so the game toys with that a little bit, and then the story makes a dramatic right turn because she gets a random phone call. She's invited out to this Neva facility, and she chases it down out of like sheer morbid curiosity. There's really no compelling narrative reasons here as to why Marianne is gonna put herself through the things she's gonna put herself through, and that is to me like one of the most frustrating things about horror games, which I gotta be real, I'm a crybaby, I'm a scared boy all the time. This game did not scare me, okay? And that's saying something big time. Anyway, once you arrive at the Neva facility, you want to find out what's happened here, why is no one here, where did everyone go, and learn, of course, more about Marianne herself. Now, an important part of this story is collectibles, and you know, I gotta give a tip of the cap here, tip of the beanie at least, to Bloober Team, because they did collectibles very well in this game. Something that it seems like no developer can get right. They just jam them into their games and they make 0 cents.
Oh, ow. Oh, I don't think I have much longer here. I'm not gonna look for help. I'm gonna record this audio log and tell everyone where my last treasure is, and the code is 5829.
Like, seriously, name how many games you've seen that in. At least in this game, because Marianne is a medium and she can connect to the spirit world, it's able to make sense of itself. Like, you can connect with these objects, feel the emotions off of them, and then learn of moments that were delivered through these objects. And that works really well to build the story, to build the world as well. And I think that really helps the Medium become a little bit of an interesting game in the early goings. That's also driven through a mechanic that works really well early on, but also starts to get incredibly boring. And I use that word sparingly, which is the two worlds mechanic. Not that two worlds. That two worlds, that's an awesome game, okay? So let's just get that out of the way right now. As I'm sure you've already seen before the Medium even came out, there are two worlds existing at the same time, and it's actually the reason why they ditched the Xbox One version and went for the Series X/S version of this game. They said they simply could not do it on older hardware, which I think made this game all the more interesting. Now, I played this on Series X with 4K, 30 FPS. There were a decent amount of frame drops throughout my experience, and a lot of times where textures just outright were not loading in. So there are some tech errors here, nothing that's going to keep you absolutely tied down and unable to play the game. It's not broken, but they're still notable. especially the frame rate hiccups. Now, these two worlds at first interact in a very interesting way. So you have the material world and you have the spirit world. Now, let's say something's blocking you off, the doorway shut in the material world. You can head over to the spirit world by having a, quote, out-of-body experience where full control is given to the spirit world. Pretty cool stuff there. Once again, works in narrative, makes sense. I like that type of stuff big time. So now you're in the spirit world and you can do something like powering up an electric box or something to give power to the area inside the material world. Now that object has been removed out of your way and you can continue going. And that type of stuff is pretty good. But once again, in the early going, they really lean heavily on this gimmick, hoping that you won't care that really nothing changes, because there's a lot of puzzles in this game. There's a lot of them. That's the main gameplay component here. But the issue is that they never provide more tools to mess with to build these puzzles. So it's always going back and forth between the real world, the spirit world, the real world, the spirit world, and just messing with environmental objects. And that to me is not interesting after a certain amount of time. Within the first 2 hours, I was very bored, and this is like a 10-hour game. So for me personally, I was just like, man, they need to do something here. Add a tool that allows you to interact with the environment in a really unique way, because Marianne in the spirit world only has 2 powers. One's a spirit blast, which is used to power up electrical boxes throughout the universe. That's literally its sole purpose. And then the other is a spirit shield, which is used for moths to get through certain areas. So oftentimes you're just manipulating rooms to get like a charge of the spirit energy that you can spend on one of these 2 things. So it just leans on like 2 different mechanics within one gimmick, and it gets old really quickly. So that is something that really hurts. And when you're not solving puzzles, you're just walking. And the game is so self-aware of this, it's frustrating, because they have an achievement called Running Simulator. And it says if you run 2 miles, guess what? You get an achievement. So Bloober Team Underwater already knew kind of what they were getting into with this game. And so I get it. Some people are like, but what about the atmosphere? It's a horror game. Once again, I'm a scaredy cat, and I was just fine. I was playing in my room in the dark, headphones on. Like, dude, I was trying to build the atmosphere myself. I was fine. And that's saying something. Like I said, I'm a very easy target. I'm a very easy target. So if I wasn't getting worked up or a little nervous, I promise you, you will not be. Furthermore, the gameplay can get a little bit frustrating with set camera angles a la the old Resident Evil games. So oftentimes you'll be spinning your character around or getting disoriented because the camera angle is constantly flipping. There's no control of that over the player, which is really annoying, not because of even the camera angles, but this is something that we saw in like the 90s. And now here we are in like 2021 seeing this type of camera angle. And it's like, wait, this game dropped all of its Xbox One versions, which I understand on a technical level, but honestly, it's a bit ironic when you really think about it.
Ironic.
Now, I've used the word boring a lot, and I use that very sparingly in my reviews. The last time I used it was, I think, fair. Godfall. I got really mad at that game. That takes a lot for me to get not only angry, but so aggressively bored with a game. Now, what's the difference between a bored with Godfall and a bored with Medium here is that at least with the Medium, they try new ideas. While the split screen gimmick falls into its own trap of not having enough tools for the player to mess around with, they're trying something new, and it's something I appreciate, and they iterate upon that, and the universe at the very minimum is well built. So there's something here. Godfall, I can't believe I'm bringing Godfall slander into this, but Godfall stinks, man. That game is just, it's aggressively trying to be as average as possible. It's actually an accomplishment. I personally believe the Medium manages to be at its best when you're being chased down by this giant invisible-like creature, because there's a development in the story at a certain point that makes it a lot more interesting as you're being chased down and stalked by this creature and you're trying to navigate maybe a puzzle or something. That's where the tension's the strongest, but they only do this one time. And it's the one time I went, okay, I'm grabbed here. I'm feeling a little bit of intensity building, and before it even began, it's over. Like, it's a 20-minute segment and that's it. And so I found that just really, really frustrating, man. Furthermore, and I didn't expect this, by the way, so I'm not like docking points or anything off the game for this, but there's no post-game content. So once you finish the 8 to 10 hour story, that's it. It's over. For those of you who like to hunt achievements out there, I didn't even have access to all the achievements in the game. Like, I couldn't see them all, and I got almost all of them on my first playthrough. So I can't even sit there and be like, hey, if you're an achievement hunter, like, go crazy and play through the game a bunch of times. It's a one-time go, really. Maybe you go back a second time just to wrap up some of the collectibles there, but it's a short-lived journey. It doesn't really build off of anything. It just kind of leans really into its own single identity and doesn't do anything with it. The story itself, when it wrapped up, I had more questions than answers, and I don't like that for a new IP. When you start a new IP and you deliver a story, finish that story. Finish it, and if you want to tease something or whatever at the end, whatever. But the way they ended this, I thought was kind of disappointing, because you get some answers and then there's more questions. You're like, really? Really? Like, we didn't even finish the first story. Come on. As for the sound, I thought it was solid. For a horror game, I expected better, because I feel like that's something that can really build tension, especially for those using headphones. But there weren't really any clever audio tricks that I picked up on. I will compliment the soundtrack. It's eerie. It's a little bit like soft and just delicately playing in the background and building up slowly. Works really well during some moments. I did appreciate it a lot. It's some fantastic work on that end, which is to be expected, because I believe like the Silent Hill composer worked on this. As for the voice work, I found it very inconsistent. Moments where they needed to be elevated, they didn't. Like, listen to this right here.
Let me try you on.
Oh God, no!
And maybe I'm just too attentive to little details, but that's something for me that'll just pull me right out of the moment. I'm like, why does she not sound remotely concerned? Or she's concerned about something else, like, you know, like someone dropped a dish behind the microphone. She's like, oh God, no. It's like, not like, holy crap, there's a huge hulking creature behind you. Freak out a little bit. So there were moments like that peppered throughout the entire game from all performances that made it feel really loose, made it feel really inconsistent, and kind of softened the blow of some really big moments that I think could have had some punch, but they never really did. So to wrap things up here, my main compliments for this game are that I do have some interest in its universe. I thought that the universe was well built. That's really thanks to the collectibles in the game. My next compliment there. I thought that they handled collectibles really well, kept it all within universe and making sense through the echoes that you could detect. And so I appreciated that a lot. Plus it helped build everything a lot more. So they did a really good job on that. And that's about as far as it goes. I really do appreciate the gimmick, but I feel like it was mishandled. So you have linearity, you have repetition. When there's none of that, you're just walking straight and listening to some audio for, I'm talking minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes on end. Like, this is not just short little segments. You're oftentimes just walking straight for like a half hour. And it's like, let me do something, go somewhere. And when you get to the puzzles, when they drive you into that same wall of switch between realms and then interact with this environmental object, and they don't give you tools, I just found that frustrating on a mechanical level. And so the game's sort of left in limbo, and it could have just been, I think, a lot better. It's not disappointing really on the developers front, because like I said, a lot of people weren't really that thrilled with the Blair Witch game, so I think some won't be surprised. But for me personally, I feel like the Medium looked like a game that was trying something new, and so I do hope they take another crack at it, see what they can do, because there is a mechanic there. They just really need to build off it more. And I don't want to sound like an idiot here, because some people are like, I like sometimes the slow experience, and I get it, but sometimes this game goes for action by like having you run away from creatures and stuff, and it's just like, once again, that linearity kicks in. You're just running down a straight path, so there's no intensity, because you know you can't make a wrong turn. It's just like, hold forward on the left thumbstick. You're good. You're good. You're good. Okay, you escaped. Good job. It's like nothing there. So if they wanted action, they wanted interactivity, I think they should have done something a little bit more. So verdict time. This is where it gets complicated, right? Game Pass makes it easy to try anything out, because you sign up for 15 bucks a month, maybe $10 a month, depending on which plan you want, and boom, you get access to a whole library. Is this game worth your hard drive space? Well, when it comes to Game Pass, this is an 8 to 10 hour game. It's something a little bit different in a library full of a vast amount of experiences. So if you are looking to test the waters with something that is an exclusive, that has some horror elements that I don't think really landed as well, but overall it's something you can burn through in a day or two, give it a try if you're already a Game Pass subscriber. But honestly, for me, this is a wait for a sale otherwise. If you can sign up for Game Pass exclusively for this game, I would name 20 different games first that you should probably play. But when it comes to buying it, wait for a sale. This is a deeper sale. It's just something that didn't really click with me, and that's sad to say, man. I was looking forward to this, especially because we just fired up the Xbox podcast. I thought this would be a great discussion to have about maybe seeing Microsoft try a new exclusive with a new team and get it right, and maybe you acquire Bloober Team at some point. No, if I were them, I'd be like, off the cards now. So with that, those are my thoughts on the Medium, the first real big console exclusive for Xbox. And so with that, I leave it in your very capable hands. What do you think of the Medium? Do you have any questions? Let me know in the comments down below. Once again, thank you so much for supporting the channel so we can change this whole setup. And now, it's off to you. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members. Once more, these changes I think are superb. We're going to keep tweaking with the lighting, provided that we don't have it right based off your feedback. I sent videos to my girlfriend, so I trust that we got it right. But still, with that in mind, thank you all so much once more, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. Love all of you. Peace.